I'm watching Clemson, South Carolina right now. Maybe 2018, the Clemson game that Clemson gave up 35 points in South Carolina. But I think the next week when they played Notre Dame, I think they shut them out. And then they, of course they did what they did to Alabama. But my question is this. Why haven't more people attacked Clemson like what you saw in the South Carolina game, Notre Dame game, and Ohio State game, with Clemson players looking to the side and late getting the defense? And I think you even noticed North Carolina did it when Clemson had a 2019 game against them. Why do you think that they have not more teams attack Clemson like that?
Well, I'm just trying to clarify your point for everyone. If I remember that correctly, teams were successful by calling their plays and snapping their plays before Clemson could make their defensive calls.
Right.
Yes. And Jake Bentley went off in that particular game. I remember for like 530 yards passing. Yeah, you would think so. Especially when you're unfamiliar with an opponent, you would think, okay, if Notre Dame's playing Clemson, and I'm talking about a few years ago, of course, they've played several times now in the last couple of years, that you would say, okay, this is a dominant team with a dominant defensive line. Okay, has anybody succeeded against them in the last couple of years? Let's pull that tape first. Oh, South Carolina scored 35, and they could have scored more, actually, if I remember correctly. But anyway, Clemson still won the game fairly easily, but they threw for 520 some yards. Let's look at that tape and see what they did.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I think we talked about that game before Alabama because of what Bentley did against them. We thought Alabama was going to do the same thing. And for whatever reason, Alabama did not do the same thing versus Clemson that year. So I was just wondering what it was your thought about why more teams have attacked it. Now when LSU did play them, Clemson got off to a 10-point lead, but LSU adjusted and went on to beat Clemson by 11, 12 points. So whatever they
17.
adjusted, that's what 17. Yeah, so
42-25.
they adjusted.
Yeah, it was a 28-25 game with about 10 minutes left. So I know that a lot of people look at that as an LSU blowout, but it was a good ball game till about 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Now, what South Carolina did to Clemson that year, Ohio State replicated it in a little way, but they did it with the run. As soon as Clemson started looking over the side, Ohio State snapped the ball and just ran the ball down Clemson's throat. I don't know if you really remember that. I think Notre Dame did something similar to it, right? So, now I move on to Georgia Clemson is coming up here. Has the line moved since those two signings? Have you noticed a line movement in the betting? I know Clemson was a 3-point favorite.
I'm not looking up the betting lines for any particular game that's going to be played in 3 months, so I've not noticed. I know that it was 3-4. Didn't it open at 4 and go to 3, or vice versa? We could try to look that up.
Well, Clemson started off as the favorite period, but I was just wondering, did it move since those two signings? Because I did a video earlier today. My question is how Clemson is going to guard those two tight ends. And then you have a good running game. If we go back, look at Clemson Notre Dame, first time around, and I know Ian Book moved around and did a lot of stuff, but Clemson struggled with that, with those two big tight ends that Notre Dame had. And the guy that, can't remember his name, was supposed to be better than a kid that Notre Dame has by recruiting rankings. So now they got two of them. So I'm like, man, how's Clemson going to guard these two? That's going to be an amazing game, man. I really can't wait to see it. I know it. I call and talk to you about it all the time, but that's the game I'm waiting for right there.
I'm with you.
So,
I don't think that even though that's significant, it's significant in terms of the play on the field that would affect the line. Even though those are two really good players, that typically doesn't affect the line. Maybe a half point.
I have a friend I have a big friend. I got a friend that's a Georgia fan. And he's a big Georgia fan. He loves Georgia football just as much as I love Clemson football. So me and him got a discussion. I said, if you go back and look at Kendrick's play against Boston College and Ohio State, he didn't really play that well. And I know people were still saying that he's going to be a first-round pick. Now, the reason why he came back, I mean, me and Jason Priester talked about this. The reason why he came back was because his mother told him to because he wanted a citizenship degree. So is he really going to risk hurting himself physically and play hard to get where he needs to be? Because that's one big question you got to ask about the gentleman. I mean, I hope he does well and get his degree like he wants to, like his mother wants him to, but that's one question I got to ask about it. I don't think Kendrick is as big as significant as the tight end is. So that's one question I would ask. I don't know about Kendrick. I mean, a lot of people thought he was just overrated because of what Clemson players did last 5 years, and they were just looking at maybe his pedigree. Like, look at Alexander. Who was the other quarterback? Moreland, AJ Terrell. There was another one with Alexander. Technically, Clemson had a run of second round, first round cornerback. So people were like, maybe that's what they're looking at. Outside of Booth, I think Booth is a better player. But my friend tried to say that, Clemson let him go because of the gun issue with the car. I said, no, he would let go before that. So maybe there was something going on with him that his mind was fully not in football. So, Georgia just might have picked up a good paper on paper, but maybe his mind not into it. And I hope it is. I hope he graduates and go on and have a good career because that money will change his family's life. But I just wonder about Kendrick. He got another chance, so let's see what he does. And remember, he was suspended early in the year too.
Yeah, I know that you're not high on him, and I've got another Clemson guy that I talked to who writes for one of the publications, and he's not high on him. He thought he was pretty average, but he is filling in in a secondary that desperately needs him.
Right.
They're so inexperienced.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't let you go, but I wanted to tell you, I was at work, working on my notes at work at the prison, and I happened to catch. I had it in the background. Alabama versus USC, 78 or 79, somewhere around there. Man, we talked about the schedule that they used to play USC. They still play a hard schedule, but I saw the running back just take off. They had some speed at USC at running back. I could see why they were called tailback back in those days. I know Reggie Bush, and some other guys came along that were really good then, but I happened to watch that game, man. They had some speed more. I don't think Alabama kept up with them the whole game. Because the guy, I don't know if it was the first play of the game or the second play. I think it was number 12. He just took off down the field, man.
Charles White.
Against Alabama.
He won the Heisman Trophy.
That
was Charles White, number 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was Charles White?
Yep.
I never
he wore number 12.
Warriors others. Wow. I didn't know how good he really was. I mean, I know they had a running back. I know Charles White. What's the guy that ran the touchdown on the kickoff return against Notre Dame? I know he was there, and of course,
you're going back to Anthony Davis.
Right. So I was just shocked how good how fast they were. And I think we had this conversation like Southern Cat was, those West Coast teams ran the I, and those other teams ran the Southeast teams feel like they ran most of the wishbone. So I was just amazed at how talented Southern Cal looked at that time. I know they had a lot of talent, but just watching them play against the Notre Dame, Alabama team in Alabama was just amazing to me. I'm like, dang, those dudes are fast. And I never seen I don't know Charles White, like Billy Sims. I never seen them play in the pros. We're old enough to see them play. I just see clips. And I'm Charles White is not somebody I came across ever seeing clips of him like I saw Billy Sims or, Earl Kimball and how brutal or runners and fast and physical they were. I never seen Charles White do that in the NFL. So,
Well, this is what made no sense.
Now,
this is what made no sense about this particular season. And I just looked it up just to verify it, but I already knew it because this drives me nuts. And it does when we talk about national championships. And I just think some things are just so unfair. As you mentioned, USC beat Alabama. They beat them by 10 points.
In Alabama.
At Alabama. Who do you think won the national championship that year? Alabama. And they had the same record as USC. Right. USC beat them by 10 points in their home. It's just stuff like that. I can't even explain how stupid that is.
Well, I think that same year, and I think I brought this up to you before, did Clemson finish 11-1 that year?
Yes, 70. The next year, 70. Yeah, 78. You're right, 78. That's the team that beat Ohio State in the Gator Bowl.
Right, and I know they lost the first game of the year to Ohio State. And this is my problem with. I'm breaking it down like this. Taking the basketball for a minute. North Carolina went and claimed the national championship in basketball like in 1936 or something like that, just to say they had one more than Duke, right? So why can't Clemson go back and claim a national championship in 1977, 1942? Because they were undefeated. I think 42, I think Ohio State won it or something like that. And then Tulsa was undefeated. Like, why can't you claim a national championship and put banners up? It's like 77. And that's what makes it so weird. Because I see somewhere Florida, technically, like some people voted Florida in 1994 national champion. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you really say who were at that point? At least at BCS, you had computers in there. I know you don't like the committees in the room because you say, what's the criteria? Because that's what a lot of Clemson fans I hear cry about on the internet. They say, how Ohio State should have got in because they only played 6 games. They had all this time to get ready for the game, and they didn't really play nobody, blah, blah, blah. Like, injury, they were fresh. And, a lot of Clemson fans say that, we got a butt kick. But why can't you go back and claim national championships if it really wasn't, no legit national championship? I think we talked about Miami and 83, 84. Sometimes, man, you just got to shake your head and wonder how did they come up with this stuff. And I know the bowls kind of messed it up too, because if you won your conference, you had to go to where the bowls say, and it wasn't like, hey, once we get the 2 best teams and they come down here and play, but the 2 best teams already played. So it's like, man, how do you pick the national championship? I mean, I agree with you, Mark. That is irritating as hell. There was another one that did too, Mark, that was just crazy. I can't remember. But there was another one that's like the team was undefeated and the other team that won the national championship. Was it Texas? I think it was. I don't know. But yeah, you get a lot of crazy stuff, man. That is,
Yeah.
That's why I agree with you when you say national championships are kind of watered down. Even, before the 2001 year, I agree with you what you say now. It's like, yeah, it's kind of watered down. I mean, people say, well, Clemson won in 1981. Is their national championship watered down? My argument is everybody else had 2 losses.
Sure.
There was nobody else.
Well, that's different. Yeah.
There's nobody. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when two teams like you say in 1978, Clemson's 11-1, USC's 12-1, Alabama's 11-1. USC even played an extra game. But so if you could only award one national championship, then it would appear as though USC, they beat Alabama head to head. They beat them by 10 points. They beat them on the road. But also, I would have no issue with Clemson saying, if I would post a video reviewing this year, like I have with those other videos that you've seen, I would say the same thing. I would say these are the teams that can claim a national championship. And it wouldn't just be one team. It would be, in my opinion, at least those two teams, Clemson and USC, should be the national champions for 1978.